Aunt Marie is someone that I have absolutely fallen in love with as you shared her story in your book and her service in the country of Burkina Faso in Africa.
Yeah.
Share that story with our friends at home.
Well, Auntie Marie was my wife's auntie, and no notoriety, no one ever heard of her. And she went immediately following the war. In fact, there was probably a few remnants of the war still happening when she headed there in 1945. It was known as Upper Volta then. And she was a single, missionary woman. She never married. She gave her life to the Lord just wholeheartedly. She lived in a hut, no indoor plumbing, like the people of the village. Never had the luxury of anything we know here in the West. And she translated the Bible into the Mosi language. It took her years and years and years and years and years to do it. She knew 7 languages. So she adopted through the years, 35 years, she adopted 240 different children through those years, put them through a school, more than that, put them through school, through college. Many of them ended up in full-time ministry. She came home in 1980. We met her at the airport. She had a brown paper sack in her hand. That's all she owned. She had nothing else. That was it. My mother-in-law put her up in the church retirement center, and she would take my little boys, at the time my boys were little, down to the Woolworth store on Wednesdays on the bus. They loved it. They loved her. One day I got to her little apartment to pick the boys up, and we were giving her, my wife, $150 a month, each month, anonymously. And she was writing checks. And I said, "What are you doing, paying bills?" And she said, "No, I don't have any bills." That would be terrible to have bills. I went, "Oh yeah, that'd be bad." And I go, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I'm sending $10, $15 checks to 10 of my former adopted children who now pastor huge churches in Burkina Faso." And she goes, "God mysteriously gave me $150 a month some years ago, and that's how I've been supporting them, all these years." And she said, "God just blessed them. I just can't thank God enough." And I was like crying. I never told her. Years later, they called her and said, "Would you come over for the 50th anniversary of, at that time, the Assemblies of God organization in Burkina Faso?" And so my mother-in-law paid for her and another sister to go. They went over. They picked her up at the airport, and they took her. She's probably 85 at the time. They took her, said, "We'll pick you up." Took her to a hotel. She'd never been in a hotel that nice. Took her to the hotel, so "We'll pick you up in time for the service. We'll drive you to the, They thought they were going to take her to like a little storefront church. They took her to the stadium, 30,000 people in the stadium. As they marched Auntie Marie on the stage, they were screaming, "Mama!" I mean, it was just heart-rending, But I mean, the point is, sometimes when you don't think you're doing much, you're doing everything for a nation.
Oh, if that is not a challenge to live a life of honor, if we all have an Auntie Marie in our lives or are influenced by someone who doesn't do things for the honor, doesn't do things for the glory, but just does it because they love people, that is a life of honor. That is a legacy I want to leave behind. I hope you want to leave that legacy behind as well. If you want to learn more about how to live a life of honor today, get this book. Watch this.